Welcome to Your Number Man, where we share financial strategies, business insights, and inspiring stories to help you navigate a successful business. I am your host, Johan, and my goal is to help you achieve a bigger life in business. Okay, I am back with my lonesome self for episode 5 of season 3. Now, today is not going to be as long as last week. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be much shorter. We're going to talk about a very essential topic, though, and it's key performance indicators, or KPIs. Last week was great. Trevor had a lot of information, and there was a lot of takeaways. Now, today, what exactly are KPIs, and where did it come from? So KPIs can be traced back to early and mid-1900s, where a lot of management theories actually evolved on how important it is to manage and measure your business. And in specifically, Peter Drucker, who is actually known as the father of modern management, introduced the ideas around management by objectives in the 1950s, and he emphasized the importance of defining and tracking specific measurable goals. So Drucker's philosophy was, and it still is, that measurement is an essential management tool. He's also famous by the quote that he said, "What gets measured gets managed." And I always like to say is, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And a lot of other business people also like paraphrase that saying from Drucker, that it's very important to look at your business, manage what you can manage, and actually take action, put it back in your business and make it more effective, productive, and profitable for that matter. So one way I like to think of KPIs, obviously, is like the dashboard of your car. We probably want to know, is there fuel in the car, and how far can I drive before I need to refill? What is the speed limit? Is there any warnings coming up on my dashboard to say that I need to replace my fan belt, or I need oil for that matter? And in the meantime, you also got to remember to look out of your window, because you might just come around a corner and there's a big row of an emu in the middle of the road, and then it's all over Red Rover. So you can see what I mean. There's a lot of information that needs to be monitored, but you also got to keep your eye on the road to make sure that you keep track of obstacles and your environment. And that's just like a business. But KPIs do play a major role in tracking, measuring, and achieving your business success. So measuring KPIs is essential because they offer a clear and quantifiable way to track the effectiveness of your business and your operations. They help you to identify what is working well and what needs adjustments right away. You've got to monitor your KPIs, and by doing that, you've got to be able to make timely, informed decisions that aligns with your business goals. You've got to optimize your resource allocation and enhance your overall performance. Now, when do you measure your KPIs? Now, a lot of people say, well, I get my financials once a month and I look at my gross profit and I look at my sales, and I actually put a few metrics in there to see how much sales are generated by $1 in advertising and all those things. But is that good enough? Or do we only need to measure it like quarterly or perhaps only annually? A lot of people are only measuring their business on an annual basis when it's time to do their taxes, and their tax accountant actually produced their financial statement. And that is actually, quite frankly, setting yourself up for failure. But further measures can be done perhaps on a weekly or a monthly basis or even quarterly. But some of the stuff also needs to be measured on a daily basis and sometimes even an hourly basis. For instance, look what's going on a production line. You want to increase your productivity, and it's almost going to be too late at the end of the day to realize, there was something wrong on a production line. That's why we've only made 10 units an hour, and we were hoping to make 40 units an hour. So by the end of the day, you've lost out on good 30 units if you haven't identified it earlier and actually took action. That's what I mean by timely, and it's got to be rapid actions as well. Now, who should be involved with your KPIs? Now, usually it's your management that set your targets as well, but it could also be that it could be sometimes like a team effort, perhaps having regular toolbox meetings, being clear and transparent with the staff and say, we got to make in this week 100 units and we need to make 20 units a day. We need to perhaps make 3 units an hour for that matter on this basis. And that's where KPIs get set. So everybody get consensus about it. We're locking a few goals and objectives, and that's the benchmarks that we can measure KPIs. A lot of the time, it could be management, or it could be just a person doing perhaps an advertising budget, or a person that's perhaps just involved with the production planning or scheduling for that matter. But at the end of the day, it's got to be clear, it's got to be concise, and it's got to be realistic as well. And, thinking about my example, which I said earlier, is we don't want to get stuck in too many analytics. We all heard of the phrase paralysis through analysis. You're going to be so busy evaluating every single metrics that's actually not relevant to the business or not relevant at that specific stage. You come around the corner and there's a big kangaroo in the road. And you don't want that. So how do we implement KPIs? There's obviously a few steps involved. Like I said, you've got to identify the key objectives of your business. For instance, you might need to increase your gross profit. You need to work on your debt ratio. You need a better ratio in dollars spent per sales. And how can I improve cash management of the business? So you got to establish clear targets for each KPI and decide on the best method and tools for tracking. So you want to keep your direct costs to the minimum. For instance, you want to get a better return on advertising. You're going to get invoices out faster. That relates to cash management. You're going to communicate the importance of these KPIs to your teams as well. You've got to be clear and concise and realistic and how this will benefit the business as a whole. You've got to focus on what you can control and make it relevant, easy to understand and measure. So let's look at a quick case study. For instance, imagine you've got a manufacturing business. Okay, there is 3 areas that you need to work on. You need to increase your sales. Let's say if you want to increase your sales by 30% this year, you want to increase your gross profit margin. And you've probably heard numerous times, your gross profit is the engine room of your business. So for instance, your gross profit can help you with decisions in your business in terms of your break even. How much overheads can you spend per sale? What kind of labor costs? What would your price be? And it's all determined by your gross profit. So you want to increase your gross profit margin, and you're going to work on your production efficiencies, or you want to reduce your debt and you want to become more cash positive. So for instance, you want to increase your sales unit by 30%. So you might have to increase your advertising by hopefully not 30%, but perhaps by 20% for that matter. So you want to start really digging into your advertising numbers. So for every dollar that you spend on advertising, you want to see a 5% return in sales for that matter, or $10 return in sales. And that is the kind of stat that's got to be monitored on a daily basis. Your gross profit, as I said, is the engine room of your business. You got to look at what is your cost per unit. So you got to track your cost per unit in terms of what are the labor fees as well at a contracting cost. And then more specifically, when it comes to production, you've got to measuring your labor efficiency. And I've mentioned earlier, where you're on the production line and you decide you got to be faster. You've got to be able, instead of doing 10 units a day, you've got to be able to do 15 units a day. And that is why you measure it. And as you measure it on a rapid basis, you're going to actually figure out, what am I doing wrong, to quickly fix what is not right and get a production downtime as well. So you monitor how much time production is paused due to machine breakdowns, supply issues, or other disruptions as well. Then we're talking about your better cash flow. So you review your debtors on a daily basis. You get your invoices out on time. You got to make sure that there's not too much cash tied up into your stock. And this KPI show how effectively inventory is used and can be replaced. Optimizing this ratio can lower storage costs and reduce, wastage, and directly improving, again, your gross profit and your cash flow. I've basically ran through it quite fast today. I mean, there is a lot to get your head around it, but I think in essence, what I'm trying to say is set objectives that can be measured, and by really digging into that measurement and finding ways to better correct what's not right, you can increase your management as well. So measure it and then manage it. KPIs are more than just numbers. They are vital tools for driving business success. By understanding what KPIs are, why they matter, and how to develop and implement them effectively, businesses can gain valuable insights and make informed decisions that propel them towards their goals. So continually reviewing, refining your KPIs, ensure that they remain aligned with evolving business objectives and are leading to sustained growth and improvement. Okay, so that's me for today, talking about KPIs. And like I said, we've talked a lot about stuff that we need to monitor in the past, and we will be digging in, not specifically mention the word KPIs, but there's a lot of indicators that we will focus on as this podcast continues onwards. And the main part that I want to highlight is the fact that business numbers can be tracked through other means beyond just financial statements. My philosophy is that business is about clarity and purpose. So if you are a small business owner and want to achieve financial clarity, or you want to get a better handle on your costs, your pricing, your budgets, your profits, your cash flows, and align your business strategy for long-term success, then my upcoming business finance program would be perfect for you. Now, as I said before, I'll be launching this at the start of next year. It will be tailored to your specific challenges and goals. We'll work together on your numbers, and yes, we'll also work on your KPIs, your opportunities, and your challenges. So if you are keen to hear a bit more about it now and perhaps get on the list for an early bird discount, feel free to connect with me on my website, which is www.yournumberman.com.au, or hit me up on socials. Thanks again for supporting my podcast, and please stay tuned for more discussions on how to build a more profitable and sustainable business. Until next time, keep living your biggest and best life. This is Johan signing off as your number man. Ciao.